A devilishly handsome man, an irresistible smile, and a devil-may-care attitude are not usually what I would associate with the devil himself. But after the extremely popular TV show Lucifer, I would say that is who the devil is to me. The devil is with us, with an intoxicating allure, and is bound to make you curious about him, right? How does he survive in this world? Does the current climate change affect him, or does it make him feel at home? Is he made of flesh and blood, or is he much more than that? What truly makes Lucifer tick? Well, to answer all of those questions, you have to take a deep dive into Lucifer Morningstar's anatomy. So join us as we look into the anatomy of the most misunderstood figure of theology and fiction alike. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Lucifer Morningstar? When it comes to modern-day pop culture history, Lucifer Morningstar remains one of the most interesting and fascinating reimaginings of the devil. His portrayal in both the comics and TV shows gives us two compelling interpretations of the fallen angel we learn about in Christianity. First appearing in the 4th issue of The Sandman, all the way back in 1999, Lucifer Morningstar was a character imagined by Neil Gaiman. The comic was published by DC Comics in their Vertigo imprint, which was made specifically for mature readers. Inspired by the poem Paradise Lost by John Milton, Neil Gaiman portrayed Lucifer as this highly complex philosophical being. He is not just the simple embodiment of evil that we see in Paradise Lost. In a way, in Gaiman's work, we see Lucifer in a grander light. He is the most powerful and beautiful angel that God had created. With that kind of description for the character, you better believe that Gaiman went above and beyond to ensure that the artists were able to capture the same essence in their art. That is when Gaiman stated that he wanted Lucifer's facial structure to be based on David Bowie. Bowie encapsulated the intrigue and the charisma Gaiman envisioned for Lucifer, and that is why if you place them side by side, you would see the uncanny resemblance there. Now, coming back to Lucifer Morningstar, he was the ruler of heaven's host until he decided to rebel. You see, Lucifer believed that he was bound by predestination and not truly free. So, that led him to challenge God's will. As you can guess, this rebellion did not end well. He did not end up winning, and once defeated, he was banished from heaven. He was cast into hell and eventually became its ruler. For eons to come, Lucifer ruled hell with grace. However, soon enough, even hell started to feel like another cage for him. In The Sandman, Season of Mists, we see Lucifer make a hasty decision. He abandons hell completely. He gets rid of all the demons and souls and locks the gates of hell, stating he was tired of being a scapegoat, specifically for a role that he never asked for. Lucifer gave the key to Dream, Morpheus, who had ventured there seeking the soul of his lover. With this small decision, it becomes evident that Lucifer is really not what we thought of him as. While on the surface he may seem like evil incarnate, he is actually someone who wants his freedom and to find the meaning of his life. This act of defiance that set him apart was what led to Mike Carey creating a spin-off series based on Lucifer and his adventures on Earth. Lucifer came to Earth and opened up a piano bar called Luke in Los Angeles. This comic delves deeper into the theological themes of Lucifer's journey as we see him trying to create his own universe for himself, which would be free from God's influence, allowing that universe to be something untainted by divine design or fate. As you may have guessed, the 2016 TV series Lucifer is based on the Mike Carey comics. This TV adaptation, developed by Tom Capinos, gave us Tom Ellis as the charismatic, enigmatic, and mystical Lucifer, the owner of Lux. The premise and plot of the Lucifer TV series. This crime procedural drama show with a celestial twist has had us all hooked since 2016, and rightfully so. Who could possibly not enjoy Tom Ellis's stellar performance? In the TV show, we see that the devil has taken a little vacation from hell to enjoy a carefree life in Los Angeles. However, things take a turn for the worse when he finds his close friend murdered outside his club. Even though Lucifer was not necessarily a justice seeker, this time it was personal and he wanted answers. This event led to him meeting Chloe Decker, the LAPD detective who is surprisingly immune to his powers. Chloe was not falling for his mind tricks, his charms, or anything. This intrigued Lucifer, and eventually he realized that he was quite vulnerable around her, not just emotionally, I mean quite literally. Around Chloe, Lucifer bleeds and feels pain for the first time and ends up with bruises, which is definitely not something he had hoped to experience. This led to a highly unlikely and yet entertaining partnership between the two. They both work together to solve murder cases, delving deeper into the questions of family, love, morality, and redemption. As the series progresses, we see Lucifer struggling with his own identity. He is supposed to be the devil, and yet it feels more and more like this is not who he is. He wonders if he is truly evil or if it's just a role that he has to fulfill for some reason. If it was a role, does that mean the devil can, in fact, be good? Can he truly change and become better? And does he even want to? With every season, we get more and more celestial beings into the mix, from God, Goddess, Uriel, Mazikeen, and even Amenadiel. Every time a new character gets introduced, we learn more about Lucifer's past, his purpose, and how he plays a role in the balance between all the realms. When you try to categorize this TV show into genres, you will see that it has comedy, drama, theology, and noir. However, deep down, this show is all about the personal growth of our central character, Lucifer. We watch Lucifer grow from being this cheeky hedonist to someone who is selfless and sacrificial. Lucifer learned if he could truly be good, if he could care for someone, and what it's like to love and be loved in return. The simple story of the devil solving crimes becomes a lot more than just that when it comes to Lucifer, as we watch the intermingling of choices, fate, and transformation right in front of our eyes. This is what makes Lucifer a TV show that is extremely interesting. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely give it a watch. What is Lucifer's true form? When you think of Lucifer Morningstar, of course, the impeccable style and magnetic personality are the first things you think about. However, his true form is actually more than just that. Traditionally, we know Lucifer to be depicted as this red-skinned, horned demon who has a pitchfork in his hand. However, in the comics, Lucifer retains his angelic beauty even after he fell from heaven. His celestial beauty actually shocked most people who encountered him for the first time. Owing to Neil Gaiman's request, artists often portrayed Lucifer with beautiful blonde hair and pale skin with extremely sharp features. Now, this description that we are talking about actually aligns well with the biblical idea of Lucifer. In the Bible, Lucifer was the morning star, the star of dawn, because of his beauty. After he fell from heaven owing to his rebellion, Lucifer did not have an appearance change because, in the end, his sin was not something physical. His sin was rebellion and, to some extent, pride. So, in a way, we could say that his true form in the comics is actually metaphorical instead of physical. He had inner complexities that remained hidden under his angelic shell. His choices are what make him Lucifer, not his appearance. But when it comes to the TV show, things are a bit different. This TV show takes quite a literal approach. There is a true form for this Lucifer, which is visually striking and terrifying to see. When you meet Lucifer, he is in his human form, but on rare occasions he would turn into his true form, which is the extremely twisted demonic visage. Lucifer's skin is red, with glowing eyes and cracks all over his face. This design is highly memorable because it is entirely unsettling to see. There is a huge difference between Lucifer's human and true forms because this form is supposed to be a stark contrast to his human charm. This demonic form is, in a way, a symbolic representation of how other people perceive him. He is a monster, a villain, and even a punisher. In the earlier seasons of the show, you can see that Lucifer does not seem comfortable with this particular side of him. In his eyes, this form of his represented his inner darkness and unworthiness. However, as the seasons progressed, at one point, he got his angel wings, usually pearly white. Sometimes these wings appear dark and corrupted, acting as a symbolic representation of his struggle with being who he wants to be, good, and who he is supposed to be, or who people think of him to be, bad, evil. We see Lucifer grow and accept himself, not just as the devil who is predestined to be evil, but as Lucifer, someone who can be evil, and someone capable of good, sacrifice, and love. As he grows as a person, we see his wings become white again. In a way, we can say that Lucifer Morningstar's true form is not about his appearance at all. It is actually about his identity. In the comics, the true form points out the disconnect between his rebellious heart and his angelic face, whereas in the TV show, the true form shows us the dichotomy of monstrosity and beauty, which changes based on how Lucifer sees himself and how others define him. I suppose the best way to describe Lucifer would be to say that his true form is a direct mirror of who Lucifer believes himself to be. It is the constant reminder of Lucifer's never-ending battle between his past, his present, and his future. How does Lucifer's immortality work? Given that Lucifer is the former archangel turned devil, there is no denying that he is one of the strongest beings in existence. His immortality, although a given trait given his status, actually has more nuance to it than you would think. In both comics, Lucifer's immortality is not really about him dying. It's more like him existing beyond decay, cosmic rules, and time. He was created by the Presence, who is the god of the DC universe. So Lucifer is actually a fundamental and eternal being. He cannot age, cannot be wounded, and cannot die by natural causes. Not only that, but he also does not require the things that we need. He does not need to sleep or eat, as he simply exists because of the divine will. Now, after he rebelled, Lucifer started sustaining himself using metaphysical dominance and through his force of will. Even when he travels through different realms, we see his immortality remain intact because he simply wishes to be that way. In a way, we could say that Lucifer being described as immune to death would be an understatement, when, in reality, Lucifer is above death in every sense of the word. He is beyond mortal existence, and his invulnerability, coupled with his omniscient knowledge, makes him one of the most feared but respected figures in the comic universe. However, the TV show took a different approach to the character's immortality. Since this TV show took a much more grounded approach to Lucifer and his abilities, we see Lucifer practically stuck in time, impossible to kill, and immune to anything and everything. He can do things that you and I can only wish to do. He can walk through fire, survive falls from dangerous heights, take bullets to the chest, and walk off without a mere scratch. However, the key point to remember when it comes to Lucifer's immortality is that it's dependent on his emotional and psychological states at the moment. When he's around Chloe Decker, who is not affected by his powers, Lucifer starts feeling vulnerable, and this leads to Lucifer feeling pain for the first time. Now, this vulnerability that Lucifer felt is not at all related to Chloe's special powers. In fact, this is more related to what she represents. She is the embodiment of humanity, self-doubt, and love in Lucifer's life. So, if we truly had to understand Lucifer's immortality, we could say it's not just about dying. In fact, it's not about dying at all. Instead, the immortality we see Lucifer with is actually his statement of purpose. In the TV show, this statement of purpose is his personal growth, morality, and identity, whereas in the comics, it is his rebellion and his origin. You cannot separate his divine nature and immortality. However, how Lucifer uses it is what makes him Lucifer Morningstar. What are Lucifer's powers and abilities? Lucifer is one of the most powerful entities, no matter whether you watch the TV show or read the comics. However, there are a few differences in their power sets. Let me explain. In the comics, Lucifer is even feared by the gods. Why? He has nigh omnipotence. His power literally rivals that of cosmic beings. He can manipulate any matter, energy, space, time, and even reality. His abilities are basically godlike. And how does he manage to pull off such amazing feats? Well, as it turns out, as long as Lucifer can imagine something, he can will it into existence. He is also immortal and invincible, as I have mentioned before. Even magical weapons have no effect on him. We could say that his body is beyond the physical limitations we associate with existence. The source of his soul is far beyond hell or earth. His intellect is another thing that you should be afraid of when it comes to Lucifer. He is absolutely unbeatable when it comes to manipulation. He is a brilliant strategist and a philosopher. He can practically see consequences, which allows him to stay 10 steps ahead of everyone else in the game at all times. In a lot of cases, we see that Lucifer won the victories simply by using his intelligence and persuasive skills. His dimensional travel skills also come in handy whenever Lucifer needs a quick out. He also ends up helping others by using this power to grant others passage through the realms. On the other hand, we have the Lucifer from the TV show. His powers are a little more limited and grounded, but that does not make them any less impressive. Just like his comic book counterpart, Lucifer is also invulnerable to any physical harm, disease, and other problems. However, there is a little issue. When he is around Chloe Decker, his mortality starts fluctuating. This is because of his emotional state and feelings of guilt. If he is emotionally compromised, Lucifer can bleed and suffer harm. He has accelerated healing though, so even when he's injured, he heals from injuries in record time compared to humans with the same injuries. He also has superhuman strength and speed, which definitely gives him an upper hand whenever Lucifer has to get his hands dirty and fight someone hand to hand. One of the most interesting powers in the TV show is his revelation of desire. This is where Lucifer looks into someone's eyes and asks the question, what is it you truly desire? And that bypasses all the psychological defenses. Lucifer uses the information against the victim in some way or another to get his way. However, this power does not work around other celestial beings, such as people like Chloe, who are protected, and animals. I, for one, think it would have been cool if he could use his powers on animals. Lucifer's wings were originally lost in the TV show, but were later restored. This allows him to fly at greater speeds and also acts as a litmus test for his moral alignment. Whenever he is going through inner turmoil, his wings take a darker color, allowing us to understand Lucifer's headspace better. This Lucifer also has a devil face, which is considered his demonic true form. This true form shows up whenever he is completely enraged or distressed. As we have mentioned before, this devil face is more of a representation of how others see Lucifer and not who Lucifer truly is. Both the comic and TV Lucifer have pyrokinesis and telekinesis. In the comics, we see these abilities described in more detail, but in the TV show, we get to see subtle nods to these two powers. While TV Lucifer may not be omniscient, he is practically well versed in knowledge. He knows all human languages, divine lore, and ancient texts. This easily makes him the smartest person in any given room. He has an uncanny understanding of human psychology, which kind of explains why Lucifer is so good at manipulating anyone around him. What is the anatomy of Lucifer's wings? When Lucifer was created by the Presence, his name was actually Samael. He was one of the highest-ranking archangels. His wings were a part of him, as he was a divine being. They were created from celestial energy and not from muscle and bone, as you might think. This makes these wings metaphysical and physical at the same time. If we look at the anatomy of the wings, they look like large feathered extensions that emerge from his back, seemingly seamlessly. The wingspan of these bird-like wings is flexible and allows for high-speed movement, agility, and maneuverability. Usually, we associate bat-like wings with the devil, but Lucifer's wings seem to retain their angelic properties as they looked majestic and powerful and glowed with energy whenever he fully extended them. In the TV show, as I have mentioned in short, his wings change color. You see, traditionally, his wings are white, radiant, and pure, representing his divine status and former place in heaven. Whenever Lucifer steps closer to redemption by choosing his better nature, the white wings return to him. However, in Season 4, we see his wings take a darker color when his sense of self starts deteriorating or whenever he accepts his devil identity. The wings look almost ominous, with a leathery texture whenever they happen, symbolizing his self-loathing, shame, and guilt. Now, these wings are removable and destroyable, but they can also regenerate themselves. In the third season of the show, we see Lucifer's wings mysteriously returning to him, which kind of implies there was a subconscious shift in his identity. Since Lucifer's anatomy is celestial, it's not as static as ours, and its basis is in higher truths. Lucifer can summon the wings whenever he wants, retreat them into his body, or use them as a shield to protect others. They can also be used to hurt enemies, even though they look fluffy. These wings are strong enough to stop bullets and smash through walls, bringing us the perfect blend of divine design and beautiful storytelling. What happens when Lucifer bleeds? Now, obviously, when Lucifer bleeds, there is more to it than him simply having a little boo-boo. By nature of existence, Lucifer is immortal and almost invulnerable. He cannot be hurt by any of the conventional forces that you and I can think of. That is, whenever he bleeds or takes any damage, it is extremely significant. When he's in his normal state, Lucifer's body is almost impervious, but when he is emotionally vulnerable, especially around Chloe Decker, things start to change. Lucifer only bleeds around Chloe, a human who is the only person capable of making him vulnerable. At first glance, it might seem like it's a chance occurrence, but in reality, it's divine design. Whenever Lucifer is emotionally open to Chloe or close to her, his invulnerability quite literally goes away. His skin can be sliced through, his bones can be broken, and he can bleed. This is quite literally the physical representation of the idea that with true emotional connection and love, the risk of pain comes hand in hand. It has to be the most humanizing element of Lucifer as a character. Lucifer, too, is taken aback by this, and we see him go through all the motions as he learns to accept it. At first, he is confused and angry about it. Soon enough, he understands that Chloe actually helps him confront his own demons, his own vulnerabilities, his fear of rejection, and the guilt that he feels deep down. So, you could say that whenever Lucifer bleeds, it's not just physical damage. It also acts as a symbolic representation of emotional turmoil. Whenever he is emotionally conflicted or ashamed, you will see him get hurt physically. In extremely emotional moments, we see Lucifer not only bleed, but also inadvertently show us his devil face, which we will discuss in detail soon. Now, if we were to look at him bleeding in a more tangible representation, we could say that the bleeding is the representation of the pain that comes with change, sacrifice, and love. Unlike others, when Lucifer bleeds, he does not get weaker. Instead, he is, in fact, evolving to become better. And I know what you guys might be wondering. Is his blood special in any way? Well, sadly, it is not. However, that does not mean that devil bleeding is anything less than extraordinary. It is considered to be an indication that something deeply personal is at play here. How does his devil face work? Back when Lucifer was Samael, he did not have any devil face counterpart. He was the Lightbringer after all. However, after his fall from grace, he went through a transformation that was not just metaphorical, but also deeply spiritual. The devil's face may seem like a punishment from God, but in reality, it's a reflection of how he sees himself. When he accepted his role as the ruler of hell, Lucifer had to internalize the guilt that he felt for the souls he damned. This led to his celestial form responding accordingly, giving him that horrific visage with glowing red eyes. This face appears and disappears depending on Lucifer's emotional and psychological state. If he delves into negativity, it shows up, and when he believes in his own redemption, then the devil face disappears. This appearance and disappearance of the devil face is actually a manifestation of his self-image. Lucifer repeatedly struggles with the devil face throughout the series. As he grapples with his own identity, the devil face comes and goes, as we see in seasons 3 and 4. While the devil face is usually not a weapon, it is horrifying enough to incapacitate any mortal, as it taps into the primal fear of most mortals. It also acts as a truth-telling tool, forcing everyone to reveal their true nature when confronted by none other than the devil. What is the relationship between Lucifer's body and his emotions? Over the years, psychologists have wondered if it is the mind that affects the body or the other way around. And here, in Lucifer, we get to see that debate happening right in front of our eyes. Lucifer's physical body is divine, not just aesthetically, but also by nature. His true appearance was beautiful, radiant, and winged, but after his fall from grace, his appearance began to change. Not because of God or anything related to curses. The changes in appearance happen because Lucifer sees himself as a monster. The dynamic between emotions and anatomy goes on in front of our very eyes throughout the season, giving us an idea of how our own identity is linked with the way we see ourselves. The devil face, the angel wing, and the physical vulnerability are all because of Lucifer's emotions. The guilt he internalized over the years in hell as he tortured different souls left a tangible mark on him, which we see now in front of our eyes. Not only that, but all the powers we have seen Lucifer boast of so far can also change depending on his own beliefs. If he has emotional clarity and confidence, his powers work wonderfully. But the moment he starts doubting himself, his powers start to malfunction or straight up disappear, which explains that his powers, no matter how divine, are at the end of the day an extension of his own psyche. Can Lucifer be killed? What are his weaknesses? By default, Lucifer is invulnerable and immortal, with no mortal weapons having the ability to harm him. The only threat Lucifer has is from other celestial beings. However, with Chloe Decker in the mix, things are a little bit different. Lucifer is connected with Chloe Decker emotionally, which in turn affects his physical state, making him very vulnerable to weapons. Whenever Lucifer is emotionally open and connected with Chloe, he becomes mortal, and this means that in this state, he can even die in a worst-case scenario. Now, this vulnerability happens because Lucifer allows himself to open up emotionally to Chloe, which acts as a supernatural metaphor for the real risks that one might have to take when one opens up to someone. So his deepest emotional connection ends up becoming his biggest weakness. Another thing to consider when it comes to Lucifer's weaknesses is that his perception of himself is directly tied to his powers. If he does not like himself and doubts his purpose, his powers start fluctuating. His wings vanished or disappeared involuntarily, much like the devil's face when Lucifer starts questioning his mortality. So we could say that another one of Lucifer's biggest weaknesses is not physical, but internal. Even though Lucifer Lucifer is powerful. He can still be hurt by other archangels or celestial weapons. The angelic blades can pierce divine flesh when they are wielded properly. This could have definitely killed Lucifer if there had been any other archangel at his level, or if some higher power wanted to hurt him. Since he was created by God, God's divine will can also effectively kill off Lucifer in a go. Lucifer is bound by the celestial laws after all, even though he fell from grace. Out of all of his weaknesses, the one that affects Lucifer the most is his inability to create things from scratch. He can manipulate things that already exist, but he cannot create things, which has definitely burdened him quite a bit in the comics. What is the symbolism behind Lucifer's transformation? If we look at Lucifer, his transformation begins when he first rebels against God. He wanted free will over blind obedience. In both the comic and the show, his fall from heaven had been mentioned, and it is not a fall into evil, but more like a descent into individuality and self-awareness. His transformation from angel to devil is like humanity's struggle between obedience and autonomy. We have had those moments, right? Where we were punished for being who we are, going out of the norm, even for once. At that moment, we were the villains in someone's eyes because we did not obey. In a way, Lucifer's transformation shows us, quite literally, the cost of questioning the order around us and choosing our own path. His devil face is also a symbolic representation of Lucifer's internal struggles. The monstrous face only comes back whenever he feels like he is a monster, and the face disappears when Lucifer believes in himself and that he is growing emotionally and morally. His wings also represent his inner turmoil. At first, Lucifer cast them away out of defiance. However, as he started taking on responsibilities of protection, divine purpose, and compassion, the wings return, almost bringing back his own identity with him. They act as Lucifer reclaiming his own identity, both angelic and demonic. The entire series is a commentary on redemption through self-understanding. There is no talk about Lucifer wiping the devil in him and returning to being an angel. This is about evolving into something new. The actual change that Lucifer has sought after comes after he embraces every part of himself. Marvelous verdict. Lucifer Morningstar is more than the ruler of hell. He is this complex being who is shaped by cosmic power and embodies the eternal struggle with identity. The shifting form of his body and the way his body reacts to love showcase how this character is incredibly bound to his emotions. He may have been godlike, but deep down, he is extremely human. His transformations are a representation of his personal evolution, which shows that Lucifer can actually be redeemed and become a better person. He is not just the devil in the flesh and blood. He is the embodiment of choice, no matter the cost. This is probably what makes him truly divine. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, be safe, and thanks everyone.